some people would agree with that, but like, the point is that there are some things which you just shouldn't do. And blocking the right of way and putting a congestion charge and all the other various sort of things that they might want to one day come up, they can say, well, 35% of people aren't that bothered. So it's okay. But I think that's military. Anyway.
It seems to me, and before anybody questions my accent, I am a UK citizen, and I am going to vote. It seems to me that even if people disagree, that you're more likely to listen, and I'm tired of all the bullying we've had from our councillor.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that.
yeah, and I formed that opinion before all the bridge stuff started. So, and he hasn't done anything to change my mind about that. So I think that even if the outcome is not what I would want, and I want the bridge to stay open, but even if the outcome and even if the majority of Romsey does not agree with me, I trust that you will make an honest effort to listen to people and not just bully them to get your way.
I think that do that.
A message from our sponsor: it doesn't matter what any of us think anymore, or anybody, about whether the bridge stays open. It's up to the court now. Sorry, I just want to.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Well, look, I want to say something about that.
Okay.
So the obviously it goes quite thick and fast when you're watching a court unravel or unfold. But one of the bits that really stuck to me was the issue of a statement of reasons not being adequate, right? So the judge actually said to the council's barrister, you haven't issued a proper statement of reasons. What you've done is listed the powers that the legislation gives you to close the road, right? So when they issue the TRO, they say it's because of this, this and this, and those are lifted from the legislation, right? And the judge says, well, you've told the public which powers you're using to close the road, but you haven't told them why. And he said, taking away the public rights of way is a very extreme measure, and you have to have really good reasons to do that. And then he said, what are the reasons? Why are you closing the bridge? And the barrister couldn't answer. But he didn't even know. Right? And he said, my lord, we think it's clear by inference. Those were his words. Yeah? And so he's expecting members of the public to go reading down, endless kind of incongruous council documents to infer for themselves what the reasons are, because on the surface of it, it makes no sense. This is all the reason why none of us actually want the bridge to be closed, because it doesn't make sense, and the reasons why they've given don't make sense, and then when you ask them, they don't answer you. So that's something I should point out as well. Part of the reason why I've come this far, the first thing I did, right, February 2023, last year, I didn't know any of you. I'd never heard of Dave Bajan. I didn't know they were going to close the bridge.
David.
I didn't know anything about it, and the first thing I did was I thought, well, I'll ask the Romsey councillor. So I see this guy, Dave Bajan, he's the one who's promoting closing the bridge. Send him an email. Why are you closing the bridge? No response.
Yeah, I'd say.
Go back. You haven't answered me. He said, I forwarded it to Neil Shaler, who's on the county. He'll get back to you. No response. Prompted again. I waited a month, 5 prompts, and I got nothing. Right? So if a member of the public can't even ask the councillor why they're doing something, and they don't put forward a real statement of reasons, and they just put this TRO there without telling anybody why, just on that one point, I think, that's a strong point of law, and there are actually precedents in previous cases. Council decisions have been quashed for a lot less than what the council did this time. So yeah, it's down to the courts now, but it's taken, what has it been, 7 weeks? We still haven't heard back. So I don't even know what's going on anymore. I wonder if we've not kind of somehow broken the system. And actually the judge might realise judge might actually realise the ramifications of the decision he's about to make. You know? Because if he overturns this TRO, that's going to have implications around the whole country.
Well, I know the Mill Road Bridge is a very, very important information. You know, it's a big issue. A lot of people are aware of the Coldham's Lane busgate.
Well, you better ask them. I don't know.
Well, it's relevant,
Yeah.
you know, because God forbid, if the bridge gets closed, the next one is the busgate on Coldham's Lane to stop.
Well, I would say, I've done a lot of reading about this, and I've actually been privy to some insider information. So I got this freedom of information request that I've hinted to that. I'm being deliberate with not disclosing that because I want people to be aware that this has happened. The Mill Road Bridge closure was just one part of a whole host of schemes that were on the cards at one point. None of it was ever actually properly decided. It was all piecemeal, and it was all to do with the sustainable travel zone, reclassification of the roads. So, maybe at one point they were talking about closing Coldham's Lane as well, but maybe it didn't have happened. The point is that the bridge being closed was kind of its time, which I think is now out of date. It doesn't serve any purpose and doesn't tie into any other larger infrastructure. And I think the thing is that the emails that I've got, they do show that. It was known by the people doing the consultation in 2021. They actually said, we're being asked to consult on something that we don't understand how it's going to fit in. And we don't know what the GCP's long-term plans are. It's a bit awkward. No, so far, nobody.
Crash and burn.
So,
Isn't it very obvious that council are very keen to have it closed?
Yes.
yeah, of course, they've made it known.
It started when Roxanne Brood lived in Romsey.
Mike Davey is Cam Cycle, Dave Major is Cam Cycle, Kingsfield and Romsey.
Very well pictured.
Sorry, Anthony, I see your hand up there.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Anthony Carter. I'm a local historian, amongst other things. I used to work in the civil service, and I was an independent candidate this time last year in Queen Edith's ward, and actually one of the things I put in my little leaflet was to abolish the GCP and the combined authority on the grounds that on the card that I gave Will just now, if he's got it. And this is the common theme coming through all of your comments and in your comments as well, is the structure of how our city is governed is now so complicated that nobody really has a clue of what's going on. And I speak as someone who has spent the past 10 years going to and filming those council meetings and seeing the public questions that you've asked. And I think one of the questions for the general election for all candidates is how in the world are they going to simplify and consolidate and condense how we're governed so that you don't go along to a meeting such as the GCP meetings where you've got 1,000 pages of documents to wade through and you've got to try and make sense of it. Now, as I mentioned, I used to work in the civil service. I used to work in the department responsible for communities and local government. I know where the various bodies, but metaphorical ones and political ones, not the literal ones. But my generation growing up here in Cambridge, we weren't taught civics, politics, the rule of law, anything like that at school. And there isn't anything, because I've tabled the public questions, about where adults can learn collectively about how our city functions, how our democracy functions. So I think one of the, and I commend you, Will, for standing as an independent candidate just on the basis of the issues. And I hope one of the things that comes through in the debates that you're going to have in Romsey, in the same way that we have the debates in Queen Edith's on the same thing, is that we discuss actually how do we collectively learn the essentials of how our city is running, so that we can actually know what's happening in good time, scrutinise it, say what we do like, don't like, and more importantly propose constructive solutions such as Colin Harris's proposed light rail that, amongst other things, would link Haverhill to Addenbrooks and potentially take a lot of the traffic off the road. To the essentials of, well, where does Michael Gove get the powers from to impose a development corporation and things like that? So I hope in your campaign those things come out. I'll leave it there.
They will. I think that they will come out. We'll have to grapple with all of those issues, I think.
Because on top of that, they're proposing another overarching body for this growth plan. Yet another road. And I read one of the members of the GCP stepping down.
Stop out, yeah.
She paid £200 a year less than the Prime Minister. And there's so many huge salaries. Money's been wasted.
She's on more than the Prime Minister, actually. She had an inflation increase last year. It was indexed.
But as a resident, don't you feel as though we're the lowest of the low? Because I see there's people way above me. Even people that cycle have got more say than a resident. You know, Cam Cycle are so influential. They're not a charity for safer cycling. Well, they shouldn't be, because they're not interested in safety. Yeah, and they're paid. And on their website, they want to reduce Cambridge traffic road use by cars 50% year on year, which is ultimately 50%, 50%, 50%, 50%, one car in time. Now, how can a charity be so influential on the GCP? On GCP?
When the consultation system works, they can
These have mates like Dave Bajan.
It makes me...
Well, where did we get to that? Where were we at?
millions.
They can't bridge, they never use it.
Are you going to bridge yourself into a single issue candidate, or are you going to try and have a range of things that you say stand?
I mean,
Because you could say, they will say that the bridge is not a city
yeah,
council
well, the
issue.
thing is, well, it is, I think, because of the way that they've gone about it. Is we have to use every opportunity we can to send that message. They didn't give us an actual vote or anything like that. The problem is, what happens on Milrow Bridge is going to affect everyone in Cambridge. So it should never have just been some isolated consultation for people who live here, because it affects everybody. You know, and that's my biggest grievance about the whole thing. People are saying, now people are saying you can't stand in Romsey because you don't live in Romsey. You know, exactly. But I mean, I just want to put that in my bag. This is for all of those people who have been saying you can't stand in Romsey because you're not from Romsey. I just want to say this came through my door today. All right.
Are you looking for a second home in Romsey?
No. It is my official acceptance from the Electoral Commission people that my candidacy is real. It's valid. Rules are rules, alright? You don't need to live in the ward to represent the ward.
Well, my father was a councillor for Coleridge from 1969 to 1982, and he actually was the mayor of Cambridge in 1979-80. He didn't live in his own ward, and you don't have to.
You've got an interest in the ward, you can get to know the ward, you can have lots of friends in the ward, you can have interest in the ward, and just live up the road. That's what I do. So anyway, and also, like I said, the reason why I'm standing is because, actually, like I said, last year I didn't know anything about this. Totally ignorant. Everything that I'm saying and everything that I'm able to say has been told to me by people in this ward. So all I'm doing is reflecting it back out. See, I've learned it all from you guys.
Who are you up against, Will? We know one person.
I don't know. I think that
I think it's just you and Dave Bajan.
No, I think Conservative put him one in.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think so.
The Greens and Lib Democrat. I've never heard of Lib Democrat before.
I don't know. But you said that they were canvassing today. Did you deliver Democrat?
They were putting posters through.
I mean, like I said, I think that people's minds are made up. They already think what they're thinking. You can't change anybody's minds. You just got to put it on the table and say this is an option. And I think they're going to go for it. like I said, my feedback, my surveying, my contact with people want this. They want an alternative, and it's not just Labour, it's all political parties.
What do the traders want?
Pardon me?
What do the traders want?
Well, I would suggest probably the traders want to be able to just make their living.
Have you spoken
And not
to
be
them?
messed around, because that's one of the worst things for a trader to go through. And I'm a trader, so I know what that's like. If anything comes along and jeopardises your business,
Well, I'm just saying
it's a
because
nightmare.
Indie Cambridge is behind
Also, it shouldn't- it
the
shouldn't be
magazine
happening.
that deals
So-
with Cambridge Indie,
Sorry, I can see your hand up
independent
there.
shops.
Traders are, you say, fed up with not being listened to. Because whatever they say, everybody just poo-poos it and just walks away. And that's not right. If they're doing all the work on Mill Road and trying to make it look nice, etc.
Yep.
And nobody takes any notice of it.
Well, one of the sort of important kind of cornerstones of this country's history, the constitution, if you like, is the right to private property. You know what I mean? Having a house, having a bit of land, having a shop, having a business. No one can come along and just mess that up. But this is what they're trying to do, you know, because they've got some ideology or something. They think that the environment's so important